So we now have the final category of the five senses, which is the category of sight. And the first one that I want to refer to, because it kind of refers back to the previous one about the dogs. So you have Doodle bounding through a meadow. I guess that's it, really, isn't it?
There's not a lot to say on this one. And she's got big flappy ears. She was never able to bound through a meadow until we moved to the country. So she's now, I mean, she is a country woman, like in her blood, and now she's really blossoming. Now she's here, and the sight of a dumpy-legged, long, flappy-eared dog discovering like a meadow, like long grass for the first time, and what you see the tail like this, and then you sort of get this from the ears, and just the joy, the absolute joy of it. So far, I think that has been one of, at least, if not my favorite thing to look at. Who knows?
Absolutely, yeah. You never know. And so Humbug doesn't bound through the
no. She's a bit dim, Humbug. She'll just like wander aimlessly into the road. That's her. That's kind of what she does. While I'm filming Doodle or something, or paying attention elsewhere, she'll just sort of or sit and whimper. She's a bit she's a bit of an old lady dog, whereas Doodle's a proper hound.
Right.
And
are they here? Are they here now? Or
they've actually, just because they've got work going on today, somebody's very kindly just taken them out for a walk. Otherwise, I'd bring them. Yeah. Humbug, for our first part of the conversation, Humbug was actually sat behind me and may have almost made it into the picture. If anybody saw what appeared to be a wet pile of tissues in the corner, that was Humbug. But no, Doodle was off growling suspiciously at the electrician who's in today.
Just fair enough.
In the eye.
Yeah, that's not good. So the other one that I'm going to do then, I'm going to go straight onto, which is, weirdly, I think a lot of people would think this is very you, which is the neglected old glass houses and conservatories where vegetation has intruded. That's got a very Victorian Gothic feel to it.
Yeah, it's the thing of ruin, isn't it? It's the thing of like inherent nostalgia in something. Like I love that. I really get that that sort of high Victorian preoccupation with building ruins in your garden. So you'd see this ruined temples and things. Yeah, I get that. So and I think the version of this that I love most. I don't have a conservatory here, but I would love one. I'd love one like this. Is that kind of those old Victorian glass houses, or occasionally you get very nice sort of Art Nouveau ones as well. But there's this sort of fine kind of metalwork, and then glass, some of which is probably broken, and the whole thing has just gone to ruin. And there's plants that are growing in, like lots of ivy and stuff that's just sort of coming in, and it's something to do with the private sort of space of it. So I wouldn't want to have a dinner party there, but I'd love to go and sort of sit there and read. It's that kind of, I wouldn't want to have a dinner party anywhere. But it's not, so it's that, it's not as it's not a party venue. It's a kind of a private contemplative space. And that real sense of nostalgia. I think it's why I've always liked photography. Like photographs are like immediately nostalgic objects, aren't they? Because you've taken something out of time, and it becomes. I was on a beach with my partner somewhere on holiday. I can't remember where it was, and I bought him one of those little Instamatic kind of whatever the modern version of those Polaroid cameras are, and he took a picture of me standing on the beach, and then sort of gave it to me, and I did the thing, and it was a really weird, like, oh, this is now, especially because it's a Polaroid, they look like they're from the 70s and 80s anyway. Here's a really nostalgic image of me doing exactly what I'm doing now, but it's suddenly a nostalgic object, which is a strange thing that only really a photograph can do. And I at a funeral of a sort of a friend I was at, and she died when she was quite old, but they picked a picture of her from her sort of probably in the 50s, I would think. She was younger, out for a picnic and sort of waving at the camera. And this had become, they did like a little slideshow of her life, and then this photograph had sort of remained up for the whole of the rest of the service. And it really sort of struck me as like, God, so when that picture was taken, she didn't know this was the picture that her daughter would choose to represent her entire life, that would hang there at her funeral. I was like, has that picture of me like already been chosen? Is that already, are they going to, you know, I love photography for all that strange, you know, she was sort of waving from like another dimension. It felt like this, you know, anyway. So I very much, yeah, key into the sort of thing of nostalgia, which is a sort of melancholy thing. I think I'm not, I don't know if I'm melancholy. I don't know. I think melancholy is a great thing, and it needs better PR, right? Because generally in life, when things go badly, like life is centripetal, right? It pulls you. I write about this in my new book, A Book of Secrets. It pulls you towards a difficult center, unavoidably. This happens in life, right? There's a centripetal pull, and when we're in that place, we tend to feel that we failed, or we tend to feel that, especially if you buy into the idea that you're supposed to be able to set your goals and the universe will bend to your wishes and so on. So then if things go wrong, not only have you got a set of problems to deal with, but you've also got your own failure, because it must be your fault to add to the mix. And we tend to feel that we're alone in that. We tend to feel that we're sort of isolated, whereas when we're in that state, we're actually experiencing the real weight and heft of life, right? This is the real stuff. This is the experience of being human, when all the distractions have sort of been moved out of the way, which means we're actually at our most connected. We are at our most connected with other people. So lockdown is a great, very literal example of this. You know, here we are, most isolated, or have been, and at the same time sharing in this sort of global experience. And it's only possible, that thought, if you allow for melancholy. So there is this sort of slightly tragic structure in life, because this is going to happen from time to time. But whether you internalize that as a sort of inner sense of sadness or tragedy, or whether you let it spread out into a sort of melancholy sense of this is something that we share, this is just part of the human experience, I think makes a huge difference to your experience of those times. It allows you to maybe move in an easier accordance with those old ideas of fate and fortune that the Greeks used to talk about. We don't give much credence to nowadays. I think a lot is said for that. So yeah, hence through some of these, there's a Beagle Bassett theme, and there's a melancholy theme.
There is indeed, and a nature theme, but there is with your music choices, and now with the glass houses, greenhouses. But the other one, which I think is quite positive, which is, and I think this is very relevant for now, is one of your favourite sites, is the people emerging through the arrivals hall at an international airport and finding their loved ones. Yeah.
So I thought this was just me until I saw Love Actually, and it bookends the film, and I thought, oh, okay, well, great, but also that thing of, like, you know, when your favourite indie band goes popular and you're like, everyone's got that now. I just love it. And if I ever go to meet somebody at an airport, I'll always get there early so I can just hang and just watch that that develop. And I think, obviously, particularly at the moment, my God, I mean, it's going to have so much more weight attached to it. But I think it's the repetition again and again of that particular kind of good feeling, that fellow feeling, the love and the connection. It's the repetition of it. It just, if you're there for a while, it just starts to kind of really work into you, and it's gorgeous. And of course, you share the sort of, because you don't know who they're looking for, and you're sharing the tension with them of who they're going to look at, and you're also sort of, after a while, you're sort of vicariously looking with the other people that are waiting and seeing who they're kind of, it's just, you're sort of slightly playing that game with everybody else as well. It's wonderful. And then if there's nobody waiting, or if it's just people coming through and they're not greeting anybody, then you can also treat it as a sex parade, which is what I always used to do. That's the fallback. You can imagine all these people being paraded for your judgment and pleasure. So there's always that to fall back on. But mainly it's the joy of those beautiful moments when people find
that's really weird, because I thought I was the only person who used to do. I would do this. I'm waiting with someone in a cafe or whatever. We'll do the thing where we just sit we usually sit facing out of the cafe, and for some reason, I don't know why I do this. I'll go, right, the third person that comes from the right round the corner is your boyfriend. whoever it is. And it's just like 1, 2, and then the third one. And either you're both creased up with laughter, and this poor person just looks at two guys just cracking up as they come round the corner. Or like you're like, oh, never mind, that's not so good. Or sometimes, oh yeah, no, I'm happy with that one. Yeah, that'll be good. Yeah, crazy shit that we do in life. I'm obviously going to cut that from this, but So we have the three favorite things, which are the neglected, nostalgic, melancholy vegetation coming up through greenhouses and glass houses. Doodle bounding with his ears and tail through the meadow.
Her ears.
Oh, her ears. Sorry. Yes, her ears. And it's weird because I've seen pictures and I just automatically went, it's a he, but no, it's a she. Not that unattractive she, I'm just saying, but
a very complicated area, but
yes, exactly. And so neglected greenhouses and conservatories, doodle bounding through the meadow, and people arriving at international airports greeting their loved ones. Which of those is Derren's number one favourite experience in the sense of sight?